Have you ever achieved something and still secretly felt like you weren't enough? Like eventually someone would realize you don't know enough, you aren't ready, you aren't qualified, you're somehow behind. Maybe you overprepare, overwork, overthink, overperform. And no matter how much you accomplish, it never fully settles that feeling. If that's you, stay with me. Because today we're talking about imposter syndrome, but probably not the way you've heard before. Because I don't believe most people are struggling with a lack of capacity, with a lack of capability. I think many people are identified with a version of themselves built in survival. And that changes everything. Hello, and welcome to the Aligned Human Project. I'm your host, Dawn Elgin, contrarian soul guide, founder of Practical Spiritualism, and creator of Field and Form, the 12 Laws of Co-Creation. And here we don't just talk about confidence, we talk about identity, nervous system safety, and what it takes to stop abandoning yourself while you rise. So let's start here. Most people think imposter syndrome means I'm not good enough. But often, that's not the real issue. Many highly capable people struggle with imposter syndrome. Leaders, entrepreneurs, executives, creators, professionals, people with experience, intelligence, and results. So clearly, capability is not the full story. The deeper issue is often identity. The nervous system still identifies with an old story, even after external reality has changed. I have lived in this world so many different times, but we'll go into the current cycle that we're in now. Right now, I have two different businesses. I have Practical Spiritualism, what you're watching here, as well as a physical brick and mortar clinic. In both of these worlds, this has been my experience. With the clinic, I often felt like an imposter because a lot of our clinicians have far more education than I do. My partner and people have run multiple clinics before, whereas I came in fresh, opening a clinic to fulfill a need that I needed when I had a brain injury. On Practical Spiritualism side, this has been an issue for a long period of time. So much so that I ended up with 3 different coaching degrees, 2 yoga certifications, 2 different meditation certifications, 2 different breathwork certifications, make that 3 yoga certifications, and all in an effort to feel like what I was doing was valuable, like I deserved to be taking up the space I was taking. And even while doing my job and doing it incredibly well, it was still a feeling like, am I an imposter? Why do I always feel like I was still behind other people? Like I needed one more certification to really prove that I deserve to take up the space that I take up. And when you feel this way, no amount of praise lands. People can tell you that you're doing a great job. People can be grateful for the impact you make on their life. And still you'll feel like, I don't know, maybe they're making it up. So you just keep moving the goalpost. As soon as I do this, then I'm going to feel good enough. I'll feel like I belong. I'll feel like I am okay to take up this space. I'm okay to take the next breath. And the truth is when we do this, there is never a feeling of there yet. If anything, it's a constant feeling of, are we there yet? And this is completely normal. Your external life may have changed while your internal identity hasn't caught up. Now, this is where science matters. Your brain builds a model of self over time through experiences, conditioning, emotional memory, social feedback, survival adaptation. Parts of the brain associated with self-story and prediction help reinforce what feels familiar. This is who I am. This is what I deserve. This is how people see me. So if someone grew up feeling not enough, criticized, invisible, unsafe, responsible for proving their worth, The nervous system may continue expecting that reality, even after success arrives. This is why achievement alone rarely heals imposter syndrome, because the identity underneath it is still organized all around survival. Many people unknowingly build identities around adaptation. The achiever, the perfectionist, the people pleaser, the overworker, the hyper independent one. These identities often formed intelligently. They helped create safety, belonging, approval, or even control. But over time, people stop performing those identities and they start believing they are those identities. That is where suffering deepens. All of a sudden, it's if I stop proving, who am I? I went through this with just the survivor identity. These identities that we take on when somebody asks you the question, who are you? And we start describing, what am I? Think about that. Who you are is a divine being. What you are is a combination of your past experiences and the way you see yourself. Sometimes that is through the lens of other people, and sometimes that's through your own skewed perception. So if you're a survivor, an A-type personality, a hard worker, then you will all of a sudden put in long hours and so if you identify as a survivor, as an A-type personality, as a control freak, then all of a sudden slowing down is going to feel like a threat. If you are a people pleaser, we just love her. She always is helpful and she's got such a great demeanor and she's always happy to be around. Then can you have a bad day? Can you say no? Probably not. This is the problem with our identities. They interfere with us staying present and being authentic, which is why so many people have a fear of visibility, because most people don't really know who or what they are. They know the version of them that they allow people to see. This is my experience. All of a sudden, people want to know who you are, and they have to get through your door. Is it safe? Is it safe for you to know who I am, or do I have to put a certain performance on? Many people are exhausted from trying to earn a value they already possess. They already possess. And this is also why our mindset matters so deeply. Many people think mindset is just positive thinking. It is not. Mindset is often a deeply conditioned way of interpreting yourself and the world. And much of that condition happens early, before even we have the language for it, through criticism, pressure, comparison, emotional safety or the lack of it, achievement patterns, belonging dynamics. Over time, people begin to form identities like, I'm only valuable when I succeed, or if I fail, I lose worth. If I make mistakes, I'll be rejected. I have to prove myself. I'm either good at something or I'm not. But that is fixed mindset. And many adults are still unconsciously living inside those early identity structures. So what feels like being lost, lacking confidence, imposter syndrome, or a fear of failure is often a nervous system trying to protect an old identity. This is why many adults are still trying to earn their worth, whether that is by getting more accreditations, certifications, whether that is by the amount of hours they work, how much performance, how much they support and help other people around them, even at the detriment of themselves. Don't get me wrong. I'm a strong believer in giving and supporting in community, but I'm not a believer in martyrdom. And what about perfectionism? What is that but a type of protection? Being perfect isn't about wanting to be the best version of ourselves. Being perfect is something that we do to try and protect ourselves, to prove that we have value and worth, that we're worth loving, that we are worthy of belonging. And then when we have this, we also have a complete fear of mistakes. Just imagine that. What is a mistake? A mistake isn't getting something wrong. A mistake is getting something wrong and not learning from it, not trying again, shifting, adjusting. Then we can call it a mistake. But anytime that we do something and we learn and we wouldn't do it again, it's not really a mistake. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity for growth. But for many of us, myself included in time past, I avoided growth because, well, the identity feels threatened. I identified as a survivor for so long. It was my number one identity. But I abhorred victims. And so the first time I heard a speaker talk about what is a survivor but a fighting victim, I was stunned. All of a sudden, I'm in this situation, and my main identity is being challenged. Not only challenged, but challenged in a way that I don't want it anymore. But how do you release it? How do you all of a sudden dissolve this identity that has been everything that you considered strength, and you now understand is your own Achilles heel? See, growth becomes difficult when the nervous system experiences change as a danger. And this is where the 5 elements become incredibly powerful. Ancient Taoist wisdom understood that different people adapt to stress differently. And those adaptations shape how insecurity shows up. For example, wood types often fear failure. They push relentlessly, achieve constantly, and tie their worth to progress and performance. And underneath the drive is often if I stop achieving, am I still enough? Fire types often fear rejection. They can become overly relational, performative, or externally validated. And underneath is if people truly saw me, would they still choose me? Earth types often fear disappointing others. They overgive, overcaretake, carry emotional responsibility for everyone. Underneath is if I stop holding everything together, will I still belong? Metal types often fear imperfection. They can become highly self-critical, controlled, and perfectionistic. Underneath is if I make a mistake, will I lose value? Whereas the water types often fear inadequacy and collapse. They may hesitate, doubt themselves, or stay hidden. And underneath is, what if I'm not capable enough to be seen fully? Different expressions, same core truth. The system adapted to survive. And awareness changes everything. Because once you can see the pattern, you no longer have to unconsciously live inside of it. Now, this is where field and form matters deeply. If the inner field is organized around fear, proving, scarcity, not enough, or hypervigilance, then even success can feel unsafe. But when the field begins to shift towards coherence, truth, self-trust, presence, inner safety, the form of life changes too. Not through force, but through alignment. You see, one of the ways that we can build confidence is through congruence. What do I mean by that? Well, if I'm wanting to believe, I am confident, I am confident, I am confident, while I'm feeling insecure, I have an incongruence. It means I have 2 opposing forces. I'm thinking one thing and I'm feeling another. So I'm putting out one thing into the world while I'm attracting another. I have an incongruency, mind, body, and spirit. So what we want to do is build our confidence through congruence, which means we start looking for proof intentionally to build the confidence. We don't lie to ourselves. I don't say I am confident while I'm feeling insecure. We can say I choose to experience confidence, or I choose to see myself through the eyes of one that is confident. Something along those lines, something that will help us start to shift the way we're looking at ourselves. We can also practice it. So what that would mean is if I set the intention, I choose to be confident, then I would take a moment. What would that feel like in my body? What would it feel like to be confident? How would I hold my shoulders? What would my facial expressions be? How would I walk? What would be my stride? Would my arms be loose? Would I be rigid? What would it feel like in my eyes, my lips? How would it feel like to breathe? And then I start practicing that. I start visualizing that. And then the feeling starts to come into alignment with the intention that I'm putting out into this world. This way, I'm not building an identity through struggle, through force. I am coming in, taking a pause, and asking the question each morning, who do I choose to be? And rather than picking up our phone as soon as we wake up, which immediately connects us to the person we were yesterday, we take some time in the stillness and we ask the question, who do I choose to be today? My challenge to you today is this. When you wake up in the morning, can you not pick up your phone 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20, and instead take the time to set your intention, check in with your body, what would that feel like, and prime your nervous system for what you want to call in. And then we can keep that intention with us all day. So we keep checking in with her. How would she lead? How would she speak? True confidence is not a performance. It is self-trust. So can we stay with ourselves? Can we choose and stick up for ourselves, even against ourselves? And if this conversation about survival identities and stress adaptation is resonating, make sure you watch the episode we did called You're Not Lost, Your Purpose is Buried. Because purpose and imposter syndrome are deeply connected. Many people cannot access clarity because they're still identified with survival versions of themselves. And that episode will deepen this work beautifully. So with that, let's go ahead and make this real. Take a moment, come into your body and just pause. Take a breath. In through the nose, starting to slow that breath down. And out through the nose or the mouth with a gentle sigh. And then ask yourself, what do I feel like I constantly need to prove? Intelligence? Success? Worth? Capability? Strength? And now ask, what would happen if I stopped building identity through proving? And just notice what comes up. Fear? Relief? Grief? Freedom? Now ask, what would self-trust look like in one small action? And just listen. You are not an imposter. You are likely identified with a version of yourself that learns survival through performance, through proving, perfectionism, or protection. And that identity may have helped you once, but it does not have to lead you forever. Awareness creates choice, and choice changes the field. And when the field changes, the form follows. And if this resonates, I want to invite you to take my free 5-element alignment assessment. It's designed to help you better understand your stress patterns, your adaptations, your emotional tendencies, your leadership style, and the unconscious ways you may be recreating struggle in your life, work, and relationships. Because self-awareness changes everything. And the more clearly you can see your patterns, the more consciously you can begin to shift them. You'll find the link below. And if you want to go deeper, this is the work we do inside of Align Your Life, the Aligned Human Project and Alignment Operating System. If you're here to build a life that doesn't cost you your nervous system, to lead, love, and create from alignment instead of exhaustion, you're in the right place. This is practical spiritualism. This is the Aligned Human Project. And this is where we stop proving our worth and we start remembering it. Alignment isn't something you achieve. It's something you practice. So keep pausing, keep feeling, and keep choosing. You are the witness. You shape the field, and the field shapes your life.